The Big 12 college experience, All-State 12 potentially, and the future of college expansion edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to $325 entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN, TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks over at Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome, everybody, to the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Tuesday, June the 18th. We're moving along in the offseason. Just over 2 months ago, till we got live football on Labor Day. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to do the conversation that I personally hate, but it's ongoing with the future of college football. This is the time of year we talk about expansion and the future of the Big 12. But first, if you are wondering who you are listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, and we're talking Big 12 football, Big 12 basketball, Big 12 all together, which means I am joined by, well, this guy's always got a family civil war in Norman, Waco, Fort Worth. He's got his seed spread among Orlando, Cincinnati. You guys know him as the green mowing, weed growing Big 12 guru. He is Troy Tuning at Troy Tuning. What's up, man?
What's going on? It's definitely expansion talk. This is now just a worked-in segment of the year when it comes to college sports, is who's going to be in what division and what league in, a year or two and all that bullshit. But, like you said, could be the All-State 12 instead of the Big 12.
Yeah. Troy, do you think it's funny that we always talk about these topics in June and July, and then all of us, maybe a little bit of May too, but all of a sudden when we get to September, there ain't no more expansion fucking talks at all. We're talking straight games. It's like they want it's not like they know when they're going to get the traction on a topic like this. They want to stay relevant in the news cycle. But yeah, I mean, nobody wants to talk about this in the games. We like talking about games, but we can't ignore what could be the future dominoes of fall. Real quick, before we talk about a little All-State 12, the countdown to football, college football is here. So get on over there to the college football experience because they're doing all 134 individual team previews for every college football team. A lot of work over there doing 134. Plus, SGPN's 5-minute fantasy football is quick and your dirty podcast, getting you prepped for all things fantasy. Get on over there to college football experience. All righty. We will preview, by the way, every Big 12 team here, probably starting in within the next 2 weeks, and we're going to all 16 teams. So you newcomers, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, you have a single episode designated to you. You 4 newcomers from last year know the deal. And then the old 8, you guys know, you guys will get a preview as well. And then we will give out our official final predictions the week before the season. And we preview every single game in the Big 12. Shout out to the chat. Ryan Hasties in here, baby. Let's fucking go, baby. Big 12 experience. That's what we're here to do. And yeah, man, Troy, let's talk about it. So news late last week, Rush and I talked about it a little bit. Big 12 exploring options, naming rights to go over to maybe All-State. Maybe it'll be the All-State 12, All-State 16. And then they also dropped that they were talking to a private equity where they would basically sell the rights, and it would be a way to add revenue to each and every school in the Big 12. Your initial thoughts on some of the chess pieces that Yormark's dealing with right now?
Well, the first thing that I think of is now that Mahomes is so involved with Texas Tech and you're allowed to put sponsorships on the field and stuff now. Getting Adidas and Mahomes over there, he's a State Farm guy. So would the All-State 12 kind of push Texas Tech to maybe look to move somewhere where they're more State Farm based so they can keep their big donor, Mr. Mahomes, a little bit happier? I don't know. It seems like a pretty good idea to sell the naming rights to the league, as it doesn't change a damn thing about, none of the games are affected. The only thing that changes is the logo and how we'll have to say, Big 12 for 18 months and correct ourselves. But besides that, it seems like or we'll just call it the Big 12. Like the Redskins are still the Redskins and no one will ever make me call them something else. But yeah, it's a good idea to get, an additional layer of funding for nothing more than redoing a logo and making people on big time like network TV shows remember to call it the All-State 12. But yeah, besides that, it doesn't really seem like too big of a risk. Like, I don't know if getting a brand to sponsor the whole league is going to scare other brands away. At least not too much. I mean, I would think you still have individual sponsors for the championship games, unless they're also going to, pay to take over all of that, which in that case, you're still getting more revenue. You're still getting the same amount you'd get from like Phillips 66 sponsoring the Big 12 tournament. So any way to get money is probably a good route right now for the Big 12.
Well, yeah, because the gap is largening by significance day in and day out, year by year, with the SEC, with ESPN, the Big Ten with Fox. This is a way to kind of shorten that gap. And frankly, we'll talk about it here in a minute. You separate from the fourth league, the ACC, because
that's the point I was going to say is I don't think you're really trying to keep pace with the other two. What you're trying to do is stay significantly ahead and kind of force the hand of the ACC. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, for at least for the foreseeable future, we will always get a auto bid into the final 8. It would be not the final 4 anymore. It would be the final 8, but we do get a bye. But yeah, I mean, just trying to stay somewhat within striking distance of these two super leagues, the NFC and AFC, is basically what they're trying to do. But yeah, pulling away from the ACC. The ACC is basically going to fold in 2026, is from what every article, news, sources, whatever you want to say. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, it sounds like. I mean, I hate the ACC, but it kind of does suck to see the ACC. I thought it sucked to see the Pac-12 fold the way it did, but
for sure.
If you're not innovative, if you're not like Brett Yormark looking to make revenue a certain way, I love the Big 12. I don't want to change the name, but I'm not going to die on that hill where you're going to sacrifice your league just because they name it the All-State 12. Because, like you said, Heinz Field, I don't even know what the hell it's called now. It will always be Heinz Field. People still, they got more money. It's still Heinz Field to us. The Staples Center, I think it's called the Crypto or whatever. It's always going to be, it's always going to be the Staples. College basketball, the Dunk. I don't even know what they're called. It will always be the Dunk. So Redskins.
Eagle Bank Arena is not what we call the Patriot Center here in Fairfax, Virginia.
Yeah, Patriot Center.
It's the Patriot Center.
We'll always call it the Big 12. There's no doubt about that. That is the brand.
Let me ask you this: how far and like how long do you think that this pendulum swing goes before we get back to the whole these regional rivalries that we no longer have, like not having a backyard brawl for 12 years, 14 years, or something like that? Yeah. Like that's bullshit. That's dumb. That should never happen. Even if we go to all of these super conferences and whatnot, there still needs to be 2 or 3 weeks a year where you get to play the rivalry games that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, is why college football has gotten as big as it has. It's almost like they're forgetting how they got here.
100%. And I think you just look at, for example, you said the backyard brawl. Look at the rating that West Virginia Pitt did the first game back on that Thursday night. That was the highest rated game of the season till the big games late in the year. I think until like Ohio State, Michigan, and Alabama, Georgia, or whoever it was. So, dude, that's what people want to see. People love talking shit. People love going the tradition, the rivalry, bragging rights on the line. But I think it is going to swing that way, and we'll talk about how college expansion is what dominoes are probably going to fall. We've kind of hinted at it in other episodes with the ACC folding. A lot of, for example, West Virginia side, a lot of the old rivals are in that league. So, so there could be some pros of this conference expansion. The one thing, and I think you agree, is this with the way the playoff is formatted now, this is as wide open a year as ever in terms of more meaningful games in October and November, and getting those rivalries is imperative. You agree with that?
Oh yeah. I almost think that, like, to answer my own question, I almost think the pendulum swings so far that we get 3 super conferences and they all have divisions that are just what would have been the old divisions and the old conferences. Well, which is, I mean, that's the reason why you expand playoffs. That's the reason why you have a 64 team tournament for basketball, or 68 teams, is you find the best in all the regions and then you put them head to head against one another. If they haven't played a game, there are a few games that we see every year that are big non-con games, but you can count those on your fingers. Like, you're not getting fucking Georgia UConn on, 2 years every 8 or 10 year cycle or something like that. Like, you might get it occasionally, but still, the point of having this championship get more teams in it is so that we can take the regional teams that were 12-0 or 11-1 and hadn't had a chance to prove anything outside of whatever their schedule normally was, and put them in a playoff to see really how good they are. And it, now that you have buys, it doesn't really hurt you to put a team like Tulane, let them play Alabama. Shit, if they get their shit kicked in, who cares? Like, I don't need to see Alabama play another team the second or the third time, even, just because we think that those two teams are that much better or significantly better. Like, the regional rivalries need to stay important by allowing the best teams in every region to make the playoff.
Agree. And I mean, to use West Virginia as the example again, nobody's running to the TV to watch West Virginia, Arizona State. But if you say West Virginia's playing Pitt in the backyard brawl, you're gonna be like, the average Joe is gonna be like, I want to watch the brawl. Those fucking guys hate each other. Utah coming to the Big 12. Does anybody really care if it's Utah, UCF, unless it's for like the Big 12 title game? No. But if you say Utah, BYU in the Holy War,
not be.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Big 12 championship, that might not be nearly as viewed as BYU, Utah.
Yeah, but if you say Utah, BYU, the Holy War, I'm circling that. I'm going to make time to and find a way to watch that. Same goes for the, I know this is a Big 12, but the SEC, Texas A&M, Vandy, nobody's watching that shit. Now you say Texas A&M, Texas, everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, the first time they've met in since Texas A&M left the Big 12. But yeah, regionality, that's what makes this sport so unique the way it is. The rivalries, the traditions, and I hope that the TV execs at least look at the bigger picture on what the numbers do for these rivalry games, because all the rivalry games are the ones that do the big numbers.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They're on the hunt for better TV numbers, and they already know what gives you the best TV numbers, and then they're throwing those games like they're worthless. Yeah, they're willing to get rid of them, even though they're the biggest TV draw. And the whole idea is like, look at all this TV money. Well, I can tell you what, that shit's gonna fail. There's no way that you would, if you were a bank and you had like your 3 biggest investors and you were looking for like, we need some more big name investors. We're going to throw these 3 out on the street and go try to find some bigger ones. Like, you should probably do it the other way around. You should probably be looking to develop a few, rivalries that are based in like a skill kind of rivalry where, like I said earlier, something like Georgia versus Oregon, there's not too much regionality to that matchup. No. There's not too much history or anything to it, but I can tell you that people are going to watch it on TV. So we didn't even try to schedule a few of those to figure out, like, hey, we can get a pretty good week 2 bump if we schedule Alabama against UCLA. And instead, what we did is, we'll take the two biggest earners from the Big 12 and put them in the SEC, and you'll get to play either both or one or something like that, and still play Bethune-Cookman. No one's watching that game.
The FCS game is so stupid that the SEC has. Real quick, Troy, let's talk some expansion on the other side because we got to talk some underdog. Fantasy Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Well, NHL Finals, NBA Finals are over. Shout out to the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla. Create entries with up to 8 picks at Underdog will automatically double flex entry so you can miss up to 2 picks and still get your money entry today. Sign up today using the promo code, listen to this, TCESGPN. That's the only way you're going to get the best ads and best values is if you use that promo code TCESGPN, where you get that half a point promo that they got going. Claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, and that's promo code TCESGPN. All righty, we were back. I froze there for a minute. I was like, what's the word I'm trying to say?
For all the people that are listening live, go put higher on McDavid and higher on Carter Verhaeghe. They're both spicy, so you can get almost 6x. You can get almost 6x on tonight's game. But also for all the people that are listening live, it's up to 60-1. There's a chance we get a sweet Carter Verhaeghe Stanley Cup winning overtime goal, and I'm not going to at least have $5 on it for every game. So.
Yeah, get over there and use that promo code TCESGPN to get your best value today. All right, Troy. College expansion, 2 parts of this episode. So we talked Big 12, private equity, talked All-State 12. This is ultimately putting where Yormark wants to put the Big 12 in position to be the clear-cut number 3 league, to poach what will be left of the ACC. Florida State and Clemson will be the first 2 dominoes to fall. Then probably Miami and North Carolina. That leaves the other schools. What would be your priority if you're Brett Yormark in the year 2026 on the ACC schools to come over to the Big 12?
See, I would be thinking somebody like Louisville fits really well with their. Like all the other sports that they have are pretty well rounded. They're going to be a good addition to the real chokehold that the Big 12 has on the basketball, which
good fan base.
Something like yes, and the Louisville guys, they seem to appreciate truck stops and liquor, so they would fit in pretty well. Obviously, we've talked about UConn. But I feel like even a school like Wake Forest or something could probably do pretty well in the Big 12.
I haven't thought about Wake.
Kind of breaking free of the whole like Duke and UNC in their little teeny weeny area, kind of taking control. Wake Forest could, bust out to a whole different league and build themselves some rivalries outside of, a 7-mile square that the other 2 schools completely dominate.
Well, if Duke continues to be good in football, Duke will be attractive because the Duke basketball brand is still, especially for the Big 12, which is a basketball league, the Duke brand will be great. I like obviously I like Pitt. I think Pitt, you bring in that major city. That gives you the backyard brawl. Regionality with Cincinnati as well. I like NC State, man. I think NC State's fan base fits. I think NC State
I think their programs in general fit really well in the Big 12 too.
With the Big 12. And then Virginia Tech's fan base that gets you into the state of Virginia. University of Virginia doesn't fit. Virginia Tech fits for Sandstorm, Hokies, College Town, Blacksburg. Those would be my 4. I love the Louisville one. That was right on my list. So I had Louisville, NC State, Pitt, and Virginia Tech were my 4. Do you think they go beyond 4? You think they go 8?
I mean, at this point, if the first 4 has other schools that want to tag along with them, then why not? Like, why not go to 6?
So from there, what you're saying?
Because I wouldn't think you're going to get Florida State or Clemson.
No, they're going to go to the SEC. Although
if Clemson wants to
Big Ten.
I was going to say if Clemson wants to play, because I've done a full 180 on Clemson now that we've gotten into the whole like, fuck this transfer portal. I want kids that want to play football for me and my program and for God. Like, yeah, I'm on Dabo's side now. I want that strategy to work. So all of these fucking idiots that are worried about getting like $4 million before they ever take a spring football snap can go fuck themselves. Take your like $60,000 and be happy with it. You know how much fucking Taco Bell you can get in college for 60 grand? You'll be fucking fine. I promise you'll be able to drink Kentucky's Gentleman and eat as much Taco Bell as you want. You'll be all right. But I do think that Clemson would be a cool one to go along with like the Iowa State and the Oklahoma State programs we have that are very hesitant on the transfer portal.
Yeah.
But I want to see that work in like, I want to see them go to a big league and have it work where every other school is bombing tons of bucks on football recruits. And Dabo just has some like 5'11" white kid that prays 3 times a day outrunning them.
I think that Florida State and Clemson will go to the SEC ultimately. I think Miami will be the one to go to the Big Ten. Miami and North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Virginia, to be honest. They like the academics, so
they just need to add on like Syracuse and Wake Forest.
I wonder if, like I said, if Duke can continue to move the needle in football a little bit, does the Big Ten poach Duke with Carolina? I know that it's football, but the Duke Carolina basketball does do a number. That does. Like if you're going to get a basketball, get a little bit of basketball, you want the Duke Carolina rivalry.
I almost think, and this is going to sound dumb, but just based on the money that's coming into the program, I almost would think that you would take James Madison over Virginia Tech. Just sports program wise, yeah, but sports program wise, that'll be them.
The new ACC. Yeah. they're gonna be part of that merger. That'll probably be what the ACC and the AAC, and JMU will somehow be in that merger. So, yeah, man.
Maybe SMU comes crawling back after everything falls apart.
SMU is interesting because what if they really move the needle and they get Power 5 resources.
And now that Texas is gone, they might not feel as, strapped down in the Big 12. I know there were other schools that don't necessarily want them, but I would think that, with the possibility of as big as a brand that SMU could become, Texas was the one that was most worried about like the infringement on their brand territory.
Yep. Maybe if SMU can really make a push here and separate themselves, maybe the Big Ten would look at an SMU because of their academics. It's a private school, so SMU, the Southern Methodist University, Pony Express, baby. But they got to start winning some games, and they got to prove that they can get it done at a Power 5 level. So they're going to be in the ACC. They're a walk-on this year.
And they're not taking money for a little while. So,
because they
got. I know they've got fuck you money, but
yeah,
some of these TV deals are putting other schools in the fuck you money range too.
Oh, I know. The whole thing is so backwards. Real quick, before we get up on out of here, let's talk about Rhythm. If you're betting on props, you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is a great way to identifying value on bench players, starters. Rhythm was on Hauser over 5.5 points in Game 4 the other night and freaking nailed it. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. All right, Troy. That pretty much concludes this I guess conference expansion. It's our once a month check-in. Wanted to cover the All-State 12, their latest rumors. We keep getting closer and closer, it sounds like, with this ACC thing, with Florida State having their Saudi Arabian agreement on the back end. So Big 12 looking at a private equity. Florida State started it with their private equity. Troy, any games from the other day that kind of you walked away and be like, man, I can't wait for that game come September?
No, I mean, I'm still pumped for the K-State Arizona game just because I think that there's a lot of underestimation for Arizona just because they lost Jed Fish, and we know that he's a hell of a football coach, but players play the games, and we figure that out every year when we see coaches change. And, like Cincinnati goes out of their way to hire Scott Satterfield, so Brome can go to Louisville and win double-digit games. Before the season, we were obviously saying it. A lot of people that watch college football were saying it. This is an upgrade for Louisville for him to be able to get out of town and them to get somebody that was involved in the program and everything. But, you would be saying heading into that, I don't really know how Brome's going to take his first season. And then you get kind of surprised and you realize, the players play the games. That's the important part is, either getting recruits or developing guys that are going to be good. And I think Arizona has all the important positions in modern college football to at least surprise some people.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that they were able to flip Satterfield for Brome. I mean, that's
addition by subtraction to the max.
Holy fuck, man. I mean, if Brome had been there with some of the guys that they've had in the past, I mean, for him to get to the ACC title game just his first year, and then you saw what Purdue did. Purdue fell off a cliff last year. He had Purdue in the Big Ten title game 2 years ago. So, yeah, I'm a big Brome fan.
We were talking about it before the game, but the South Dakota State Oklahoma State game is just going to be. I mean, I don't think you can bet either direction and feel safe at all in that game. That one feels like it's going to come down to the wire, and there's a lot of people that are expecting Oklahoma State to be really, really good, but we've seen this before in the beginning of the year.
They stuck early, man. Yeah, I'm with you, man.
This is a national championship fucking team from last year. They're playing the FCS champion. I mean, that's we know that Prime Division I is a different level of athlete, but the FCS champion team is probably still the 35th or the 30th best team in the country. I wouldn't think that Oklahoma State would have been ranked much higher than that after last year. I would have thought that, they're right there, maybe at 25, maybe others receiving votes or something like that. If I was going to be an honest pollster, I think this is a dead even matchup, and it's fucking scary. As an Oklahoma State fan, I do not want to play this game. It'd be awesome if there was a big lightning storm and they had to postpone it to never.
Well, I mean, JMU was South Dakota State, and we saw their transition into Division I FBS level. We've seen Jack State with Rich Rod. They transitioned very nicely last year. They got good. These FCS teams at the top. I mean, West Virginia's got to play Albany. Albany was a top 5 team last year. So,
they call that sneaky. They say sneaky athletic when they're talking about the Whites.
The Whites.
Whites.
Dude, how many times has Northern Iowa almost beat Iowa State in that game? I mean, they almost always beat them, and they're not even one of the better ones at the FCS level.
I mean, I know we haven't seen them play, but South Dakota State plays last year's South Alabama team, and that's also a hell of a game. But I would think that South Dakota State would win it, and that's a team that beat the living shit out of Oklahoma State in Stillwater. So, yeah, definitely a scary one right off the bat. The only other thing I was going to mention is if we're going to sell the naming rights to the whole league, we need divisions, so we can sell the naming rights to that too, so that we can have the Bucky's division, the Phillips 66 division, the Flying J, and the Come and Go division.
Come and go, baby. Come and go.
That's sponsored by your halftime show, sponsored by Wood Tip Black and Mild.
This is what we do over here at the Big 12 College Experience. We break down games, and then we break down divisions on what should be the name based off the truck stop. So, all right, man. This concludes another edition of the Big 12 College Experience. Like I said, it's going to be all football talk from here on out for the final 10 weeks as we lead into Labor Day. Can't get here soon enough. Troy, our Nats got a big one here this week. They currently sit tied for the wild card. So tell everybody what you got going on other than watching the Nats and rooting on our Nats bets.
Watching the Nats, playing golf. Had Bryson in all 4 majors featured up from 7 months ago. So we're 1 of 3. One of three. We'll see if he can get it done back-to-back here in the British Open, but just a big shout out to Rory for missing putts like everybody that I see up at Laurel Hill when I'm just driving around. See, the funny thing is that none of the people at Laurel Hill would miss those putts. They would just pick that up and walk to the cart.
That's why they ain't gimmies in the real tournament. But god damn, Rory, fucking nut up and make a fucking putt. How do you not make one of those? But I'm glad Rory didn't win. I like DeChambeau. Go Bryson. But yeah, I'm at Moneyline_Mac. Will be back later tonight talking college basketball. We're gonna do some draft profiles. We got the NBA draft coming up next week, and go check out our coaches summer tour. We got 2 more scheduled this week. Trying to get a third on. See if we can make that happen, and then we're gonna keep knocking those out as we go along in the summer. Want to get some behind the scenes going with the college basketball experience, and go check out the college football experience with Colby and those guys. All 134 teams. They just got the SEC done, and Noah's got you covered at the college baseball experience, where we got the Final 4 now in Omaha. Actually, Final 6. It'll be the Final 4 after today.
After tonight, yeah.
Yeah, go Florida State and go Florida. That's who I took in the bracket. So, he's at Troy Tuning. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are out of here.